So, the hideous bill that the House passed that will make everything more expensive, from healthcare to food to what we buy in stores, just so we can give more money to rich people, has moved on to the Senate. The bill that will gut healthcare and food assistance for millions of Americans is a complete betrayal of the American people. As it turns out, the majority of Americans don't even earn enough to afford the basic quality of life. The average person is drowning in debt. Our job market is shrinking, our prices are rising, and there could be a recession coming. But thanks to this Republican bill, people are now justifiably terrified they're also going to be kicked off of their health insurance or out of social services and programs they rely on to survive. And again, this isn't so we can pay for a war to save our country or invest in major infrastructure to improve our lives. This is so we can give more money to the rich, and it's an abomination. So today we're going to have a brief conversation with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is in the thick of things in the Senate as the Republicans try and push through this bill. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, well, here you are with your colleagues like Joni Ernst telling people they shouldn't be worried about losing their health insurance because, everybody dies.
Right.
So what is going on in the Senate, Elizabeth? This lack of interest in our lives feels truly terrifying.
So this one truly is terrifying.
Yes.
But think of it this way. People talk about budgets and it sounds so, numberish, right? And technical, who knows, who cares? A budget for a nation is like a statement of your values. What really, really, really matters to you. And this particular budget bill that's coming through right now has two key parts to it. One is the cuts, and the plan is to cut, as you said, healthcare for little babies, access to things like wheelchairs and home health aides for people with significant disabilities so they can live independently, and nursing home spots for seniors who have no place else to go and no money. It also cuts clean energy. So here are these huge cuts that are coming down the pike, and more hunger, as you rightly pointed out. Here are these big cuts. Why are they doing the cuts? They're doing the cuts so they can do giant giveaways to billionaires. Oh, and some millionaires, but millionaires, billionaires, giant corporations.
The ultra rich, Elizabeth, the ultra rich.
Ultra rich. So this is a question of our values. So if you really believe that little newborn babies should lose access to health care so that Jeff Bezos can buy a third yacht, a yacht for his yacht's yacht, then you'll love this bill. But if you actually think that as a nation, we ought to make sure those little babies and people with disabilities and seniors in nursing homes keep their access to health care, then now is the time to fight back.
Yeah, but I want to be really clear that your colleagues are deeply out of touch.
Yeah.
When you listen to the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, he recently said, listen, if people want health insurance, they should just get a job with health insurance. And I was like, bro, you get health insurance with your job, but there are hundreds of thousands of people that do not get health insurance with their job, or their job keeps them below the amount of hours that give them health insurance. So to say something like that is so grossly out of touch. And then you think of people like grandmothers in nursing homes who are on Medicare. Their nursing home is paid for by Medicare. Are they supposed to go out and get a job? Are little babies supposed to go out and get a job that has health insurance? None of it makes any sense. And they say it in this kind of casual way, well, just go get a job. And that sounds fine until you think about the way America actually works. And that's not how it actually works. So we are really, really throwing people under the bus here. And I want to be really clear that that's what the Republicans are doing.
You have it 100% right. And in fact, they've got one other piece to this, and this is their magic math piece. And that's the piece where they say, and remember all those giveaways to the billionaires and billionaire corporations? It's all going to be free. Not only Democrats are blowing the whistle on that one, saying it's not going to be free. It's every independent economist, our own government, the Congressional Budget Office says this is going to cost trillions of dollars to shovel this money out the door for rich people. And here's the thing. Guess who's going to ultimately pay for that? Cutting healthcare for little babies is not enough. So they're going to borrow the money to give more tax breaks to billionaires. And then it's going to be our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren who are going to end up paying for these big giveaways to the billionaires. You could not design a piece of federal legislation that is more out of sync with the values of most of the American people.
Or one that's like, they just think we're fools. Like, I just,
Yeah.
if you can't put everything on a credit card like we did with wars. And I think we have to be really clear. It's not that we're giving people things. We're not like fighting a war that we have to protect our country, or we're going to completely redo all the highways and trains and roads and bridges, and we have to sort of take a little cut here because we're going to do these great things. No, the money is going to the ultra rich who do not need it on the backs of the people who are poor. And you have people like Mike Johnson saying, well, here's the thing. We're only going to take health coverage from the unauthorized immigrants. And where you're like, well, that's completely false because unauthorized immigrants are not eligible for federally funded Medicare. So that's
They already don't get it.
They already don't get it. So don't say that to
Yep.
me. And then you have someone like White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt saying the bill is going to be the largest deficit reduction in 30 years, when the truth is it's going to increase the deficit by trillions and trillions of dollars. So it's just blatant lies in the American people's face that we're just supposed to suck up. And I think what people need to understand is that this bill is a complete reimagining of what government does. That the Republicans are abandoning this idea that government works for the people and they should improve our lives and take care of us, and actually saying, well, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take your tax dollars and we're going to concentrate all the money and the wealth and the power into the hands of a select few, but you guys will pay the bill. And there's not a single person in America, you don't need to follow politics to know that makes no sense at all.
And no matter how much you hear about, well, Washington kind of back and forth, this particular bill is actually a piece of history. If this bill goes through the way it's written right now, it will be the single biggest transfer of wealth from poor people, from working people, from folks working not just one job, but sometimes two and even three jobs, to a handful of the billionaires right at the top. Never before in American history has there been a single bill that made such a big wealth transfer. And that's what the Republicans are trying to push on America right now. And that is why you are right to say this is really about remaking the role of America. Instead of an America that says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to invest in public schools so all our kids can get an education. We're going to invest in roads and bridges so you can get around, start your business, get your goods to market. We're going to invest in broadband so everybody gets access and can be part of what happens online. We're going to invest in healthcare so that little babies grow up healthy, but also so that people have a cool idea and want to start a business, don't automatically lose their health care just because they had to quit the job they have. We're going to make those investments. Why? So everybody in this country at least has a chance. Now, they got to get out and do something with it, but at least they've got a chance. You put them in the game. That is part of the job of government. And what the Republicans are doing with this bill is saying, nope, government is supposed to be run to wring the maximum number of dollars and value out of everybody who isn't rich and hand those dollars over to the very richest people in this nation. That is so wrong.
It's obviously appalling. And even someone like Elon Musk, who will be benefiting from that, says this is an atrocious bill.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, I just want to say the Republicans need 50 votes to pass this. They have 53 senators in the Senate. Rand Paul, as I understand it, is a no because of how irresponsible it is with the debt. Mm-hmm. So it got me agreeing with Rand Paul, which is ridiculous. And then who else that you know that is your colleague has a conscience? Is there anyone else you can think of that cares about their constituents' lives, or at least the debt we're going to be saddling the country with? Because people need to understand that this debt, we're already paying 14% of our entire budget just in interest payments on our debt. This will only go up. So who should we, the people, be calling? What should we be doing right now?
So I'm going to make a pitch here. If they're a Republican, call them. And here's the reason why. This is about building a whole weather system right now. We need every Republican to be hearing from their constituents, to be hearing from everyone. So you live in a very blue state, call your friends who live in states that are represented by Republicans and get them to make those phone calls. Get them to text, get them to send emails, and get them to show up at town halls and ask questions. Excuse me, Senator so-and-so, why is it that you are signing on to take away health care from 14 million Americans just so that some billionaire can throw a $3 million wedding. Why are you doing this? Push them on it. And if they won't do town halls, stand outside their office and ask them that. Why won't you do town halls? And I say all that because we've been here before. Back in 2017, the Republicans wanted to end the Affordable Care Act. Remember, Republican majority in the House, Republican majority in the Senate, Donald Trump in the White House. Bill passes the House. And by the way, what do the Republicans do? They'll go over to the White House lawn, pop a few brewskis, and celebrate taking away health care from millions of Americans. Remember that? What's more fun? It comes to the Senate. We don't have the majority. And so what happens in the Senate? Some of you may remember the crucial vote when John McCain holds his thumb up and does the down. And we saved health care for millions of Americans. But understand this. The reason John McCain was in a position to make that decision was what people like the people who are listening to you right now did. The millions of phone calls, texts, emails, standing outside the office, not just for McCain, but for all of the Republicans. So the whole weather system around it, all of the politics around it had shifted. And look, we know the cracks are in the wall. When Elon Musk is saying bad bill, when the Wall Street bond traders are saying magic math, that's not going to work. When different people are starting to say, the cracks are there, but it's up to us to get out, make those calls, text, keep after it. And if you've done it once, do it again and do it again and do it again. Now is the moment.
Yeah, now is absolutely the moment. And as Joni Ernst says, it's right. You know, we are all going to die, but it's not because our senators voted to kill us, right?
Yes.
That's not how it's supposed to work. Thanks so much for coming today, Elizabeth. Honestly, you're a wonderful senator. And I'm having a real trouble with the state of the country. So it's really great to talk to you right now because I think Americans need to start to realize how destructive the current party that calls themselves the Republican Party is to our lives and health. And we need to stand up against them and really fill those cracks and make them break open because otherwise we are in a lot of danger.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Keep this fight up.